It is Friday, March 12, 2021. I am the coach, and this is the Early Edge, powered, as always, by SportsLine. And one show when you're in the middle of championship week, it's just not enough. So, as always, we have two shows dropping in the morning right now, and then also a PM edition. So turn on those notifications so you know when any new content is brought into your feed. Thank goodness for our PM show yesterday going 3 and 2, because the morning show had some bad beats in it, and we just can't figure it out. I think all those 9-0 days, the gambling guys just evened it all out. But today is a line in the sand day. So let's bring in our cappers right now. All right, right next to me, you know who he is. He is M Squared. Good morning, Mikey.
Good morning, Coach. A lot of basketball again today. I love it. I couldn't believe that Pac-12 game last night. I gave a play out on Twitter last night. That game didn't tip until like 1 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast. That was crazy.
Crazy, because I didn't get it because I was asleep out here on the West Coast and before it barely tipped off. All right, Maestro. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Coach. Like you talked about, frustrating, 1 and 2 on the college hoops that I gave out on the show, 2 and 0 on my other college hoops, UConn and Georgetown, that were on the site. Frustrating when that happens, but, let's keep rolling.
Hey, we tell people all the time, you got to be a SportsLine member, because I get tweets constantly saying, Coach, how do I get all the SportsLine picks in addition to the show? Become a member. It's that simple. Now, real quick, you can create a pool to compete against friends or just fill out a bracket for the chance to win a Nissan Rogue and a trip to the 2022 Final Four. You can play on the CBS Sports app or at cbssports.com/brackets. Join our podcast group that we're calling Chiefs Bracket Challenge. I dare you to try and come and beat me. Dare you. All right, here we go. Storylines that could affect the betting lines today. And we can't forget, Mikey, about the NBA just because there's so much college. What do you got today for us?
Yeah, a lot of action still in the NBA. Ben Simmons is still out for the Philadelphia 76ers, but Joel Embiid has been cleared to return tonight, so he's going to be available. LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar DeRozan, both out for the San Antonio Spurs. Evan Fournier, James Ennis, both out on the other side of that game for the Orlando Magic, and Terrence Ross is questionable. So the Orlando Magic could be relatively thin on the perimeter tonight. Another big news here. The Utah Jazz are favored by 17.5 points, which is a massive number in the NBA. John Wall, Victor Oladipo, and Eric Gordon, all three are going to miss this game for the Houston Rockets. That is big, big news there. And then Anthony Davis remains out for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Well, the big news in college, Coach and Mike, is the ACC tournament. Virginia had a positive test this morning. They will not play Georgia Tech in the semifinals. Georgia Tech advances to the championship game. FSU, North Carolina, has been moved up to 8:30 p.m. Eastern. FSU, a 2.5-point favorite. And, I didn't want it to happen this way, but, I have a Georgia Tech future to win the conference. William Hill, we gave it out. It was 7-1. It was definitely a lot higher elsewhere, and now it's an easy hedge in the championship game.
All right, real quick, because we like to educate and we like to entertain. When you say hedge to the novice bettor who's just watching the show, maybe for the first time, what do you mean?
Well, if you have a ticket on Georgia Tech to win the tournament, you just bet the money line on the other team, and you're guaranteed a profit either way. It depends how much how much do you believe in Georgia Tech? They're probably going to be a slight dog, definitely a slight dog to Florida State, and the way North Carolina is playing, probably a slight dog to them as well.
So what Maestro is saying, if it's 7-1, you bet $100, you're going to win $700 guaranteed because they made it there. So if you bet $300 on the other side, you're guaranteed to make $200 at least. That's what hedging is. All right, it's time for our boards today. We're going to start with our SportsLine plays of the day, and we're going back to the NHL today. Our first play, St. Louis Blues, plus 100 over the Vegas Golden Knights. They dropped the puck at 8 Eastern. The reason we're going against Vegas, this is Matt Severance. He's been terrific, 71-40 in his last 111 picks in the NHL. Vegas has a goaltending issue. Their number one guy, Marc-Andre Fleury, he's on the COVID list. Their backup hasn't played since February 7th. That's an issue. Take the other side. Our second play, the Minnesota Wild, minus 160 over the Arizona Coyotes, also for Matt Severance. Now, the hottest goaltender in the entire league is Wild rookie Kaapo Kähkönen. Now, he's won 8 straight starts. So when I see a minus 160, but I got a guy who's won 8 straight starts, what do we say, Maestro? The juice.
It's worth the squeeze.
You're damn right it is. All right, so those are your 2 plays from the SportsLine site. All right, it's time for our plays in the AM show. M Squared, you know the drill. Give it to me.
All right, Coach, we got 3 college basketball plays. We're going to start in the SEC tournament. Very early tip here on this one. We're going to be looking at Mississippi State and Alabama. So Mississippi State snuck by Kentucky yesterday. Now they're getting 8.5 points against an Alabama team that is definitely the better team on paper, definitely the better team in this matchup. However, the number is too high here. I only make them minus 7.1. So there's a little bit of an edge here at plus 8.5. We expect a lot of these conference tournament games to be very competitive, as we've seen over the last 2 to 3 days. I think that's going to continue here. I like Iverson Molinar for Mississippi State quite a bit. I think he's a problem here for Alabama. So I like them getting 8.5 in this first game. And then my second play is going to also be in the SEC, Arkansas. So I'm giving it out here on the show at minus 4.5. I had it minus 3 this morning when I started to try and give it out on the show here. It has moved, so I started giving it out on Twitter earlier. I make them minus 5.4 in my simulations. I'm still playing it at minus 4.5. I would play it all the way up to minus 5 if I had to in the spot, as I do think that's where it closes. This Arkansas team is just simply disrespected. You look, they've covered 9 of their last 11 games against very good teams. One team they failed to win against there was Oklahoma State, which has proven to be a very, very, very good team at this point. So I think Missouri is overvalued here. They took care of Georgia barely last night. I like Arkansas quite a bit here, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5. Whatever you can get, play Arkansas today. And then my final play, Illinois. We'll go ahead to the Big Ten. Illinois, minus 7.5 against Rutgers. Rutgers beat Indiana, who I was on yesterday, right? It was only I believe it was a 9-point finish that they won by at the end of that game. Indiana did not score a basket in the final 9.5 minutes. We can talk about that being potentially good defense, but we obviously know it was not just their defense that led to Indiana not scoring a basket in 9.5 minutes. I like Illinois here. Illinois is another team, kind of like Arkansas, that's really been disrespected, and some of it is a product of the competition that they're playing. So this Illinois team was underdogs against Ohio State, against Michigan, against Wisconsin. They won and obviously covered the spread in all 3 of those games recently. I make them minus 9.5. I love it at minus 7.5. I would play it up to minus 8.5.
Of that Illinois play. They've been really, really good. In those games against Michigan and Ohio State, they looked absolutely phenomenal. All right, Maestro, I know you're going to go a little bit off the beaten path as usual, but if it cashes, we don't care. What do you got today?
Okay, Coach. Looking at both games of mine are in the AAC with Cincinnati against SMU. It's an afternoon start. SMU hasn't played in 32 days. Cincinnati won the earlier meeting. SMU clearly the more talented team, but they've been off for so long. And here's the key. Cincinnati guard David DeJulius, he opted out on February 25th. They lost to Vandy. They look terrible. He opted back in, and he's available for this game. He actually had 12 assists in the first meeting. He has 4.6 assists per game, second in the conference. He's a key guy. I think it's a game that could go either way. I'm definitely going to take 6 points with Cincinnati. And then later on, Memphis Tigers, they cashed for me against Houston. They could have won that game outright. That was an unbelievable game that came, that long shot that Houston hit at the end. They're laying 6.5 to Central Florida in the late game. Central Florida's won 5 in a row, and I was on them in one of those games, but they've been playing the bottom feeders. Those 5 wins against 3 of the 4 worst teams in the conference. Memphis has covered 10 out of 11. Their defense tied with Loyola of Chicago for the number 1 defense in the nation. I really like Memphis today.
Incredible nuggets there for those 2 games as well. Okay, we are up against it. Grab your paper, grab your pencil. Jeweler, thank you very much. Let's start with M squared. He is on Mississippi State plus 8.5. They looked really good against Kentucky. You give me 8 points, I'm good with that. Arkansas, it opened at 3. Get the number now because it is rising, and Mikey says he would play it all the way up to 5. And then Illinois in the Big Ten, taking on Rutgers, minus 7.5. Rutgers really kind of struggled with Indiana. The ending score wasn't exactly what the game looked like throughout. And then the Maestro, he's on Cincinnati, plus 6 over SMU. And then Memphis, that great defense, minus 6.5 as well. And then our SportsLine plays of the day in the NHL, Blues plus 100 and the Wild minus 160 over Arizona. Don't forget, turn on your notifications. We're going to have a PM show later this afternoon, somewhere around 3:30 Eastern time. You've got your marching orders. Let's go. Let's take every single ticket straight to the pay window. For M Squared, for the Maestro, for Chief. By the way, Mississippi State is our dog of the day. And the jeweler. I am the coach. Remember, this is the only place flattery is so nice for your daily early edge. Good luck.